Hi, y'all. Well, I decided today we needed some fun. And you know what my talk is all the time? Money. But anyway, what I learned was I didn't have to be big. It says my title is Stewart. But then I realized, wait a minute, that's not my title. That's God's title. So I can take my hat off. Then I realized that, I have ears to hear. And I need to listen. I need to find out what I need to do. So now I can take my ears off. Oh, you men, you know what those are. And then I decided I do have eyes to see. And I can take my glasses off. But this is my security. I can't take this off because this is security. So I do need another pair of eyes, sorry. When you're over 27, it's really hard. Anyway, today I want to introduce you to stewardship. I know you're all excited about this. So, we are made in God's image. And God is a giver. Who's a better giver than God? Really? Does he give us everything? Yeah, he just gives us everything. And I had to go through all this to find it out. And let me tell you, there were a few years that I needed that bat on my head. But anyway, so giving is the key that unlocks all full potential. It does. I can't begin to tell you. And it's in our life. The potential is in our life and in our money. Our potential. I mean, think about it. How do we get along without money? I'm not sure. Ask the government. Okay. You know what the greatest misunderstanding is? Is if you have wealth, it's because you're selfish. And you hoard. You hoard everything that you make. See, I'm not hoarding it. I'm not giving it to nobody because I worked hard for it. So if you clench, did you know that if you clench your fist, hold your money and clench your fist, do you know what that stands for? When somebody clenches their fist and does this, what does that stand for? Anger. That usually means anger, right? But when you, and then when you do that, how can God give you any more? I mean, you're closed fist. But when you open it, God just blesses you. And think about it. A dog. Does a dog understand when you open up your hand and you give him love? Yeah. A dog really understands that. And that's something that God understands. When you open your hand to God, he understands how much you love him. And that's powerful. So, they say it's impossible for a rich man to enter the kingdom. It isn't the rich man, and it isn't the money. It's where a clenched fist is in the interpretation sign of anger. So it's not, a rich man go to heaven. It just depends on how he handles it, how he interprets it. And it's really important that we interpret it right. So, did you know that the earth is the Lord's and the fullness is his thereof? So, this means God owns everything. Oh, thank you, Jesus. He does. Did he create the earth? The heavens, the earth? Did he create it? Of course he did. And guess what he did? He let us have some of it. I mean, how grateful is that? He, all we have to do is ask, and God's there to give it to you. But Ask in gratefulness. Be grateful for it. Do you know that we are asset managers? Yeah. And we're asset managers for the Lord. So we're doing that. We're doing what the owner, God, the owner, is telling us what to do. So, and do you know what steward means? I don't know if all of you know what it means, but what it means is that it's one who manages somebody else's financial affairs. That's what a steward is. And whose finances are we managing? Whose? God's. That's right. Is that just cool? Can I have a little more? No. Sorry. Okay. Steward appears in the King James Bible so much that it was a common, easily understood term that immediately emphasized mannership, not ownership. Mannership. So, did you know that God doesn't want our money? Hey, don't take this offensively, but are you a pew sitter? It takes money to run a church, and God needs money to keep all these things going. So, God created all things and knows every hair on our head. And some of you need to talk to him a little bit about more, okay? Oops. I'm having fun. And God has provided absolutely everything we've ever had or ever will have. Is that just the neatest thing? He's going to provide it. Yeah. I hate to tell you, but there ain't no clock. So, God doesn't need our money. Giving is simply our duty as a Christian. God said to do it, so let's do it. I do what he says, because, man, I tell you, I get into trouble. Here's a little saying that I thought was kind of cute. God said, oh, wait a minute. Like a good Christian Boy Scout, I'll do my best to give to God and country and church. We must be good rule keepers. Do you know what? That's not true. That's not true. That's not the giving spirit that God wants either. And I think this is really neat. God wants you to give because we are made in his image, and he's a giver. Because we are designed in God's image, we are the happiest and the most fulfilled when we are giving and serving. So it's pretty tough to be a selfish giver. Choosing to be a giver is the same as choosing not to be selfish. You know, it is sometimes kind of hard, you know? I mean, man, I need a new pair of shoes. And I got to keep this money for that, you know? So, unselfish people have more of a tendency, did you know that? They have more of a tendency to prosper in relationships and wealth. Unselfish people. If you check the compensation models for hundreds or thousands of churches across the country, we are not paying our pastors enough. I thought this was kind of interesting. So we expect them to be world-class speakers, scholars, writers, counselors, leaders, and administrators. We expect them to be on call 24/7. If I need you at 1 o'clock in the morning, you answer your phone. You know, our pastors, if they took a different job and they did the work that they do for us, our family, our body, they make a lot more money because of what we expect of them. I mean, man, if I was a boss and I had someone like Carolyn and Robert, I couldn't pay them enough, you know? And I'm going to tell I can't tell you how many times I've sat at Carolyn's table, her helping me, and her phone's going, bling, 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 bling. Oh, gee. Yeah, tick message, tick message. I'm going, man, do they ever give you a rest? Oh, it's part of my job. I think I'll stay being a realtor. And guys, I found this statistic, and it says that the churches all over the nation are really losing pastors. And why are they losing them? Well, let's see. It could be that they're overworked, underappreciated, and underpaid. It's called burnout. And it's true. I look what Carolyn and Robert do. I look how somebody needs them at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, and it's serious. Those people are out the door, even in their pajamas. But, no, I'm kidding. So anyway, I just think we need to really appreciate them and try to pay them as well as we can, And then the other thing is, do you know what an offering versus a tithe is? How many people know what the difference is? Okay. So the Bible calls us to give a tithe of our first fruits. Give 10% right off the top. And what is our first fruits? Our income. It's what we bring in, right? After all, it is God's, God gives us 100%. 100%, and all he wants back is just a little 10%. And I'll tell you, when you start doing that, what happens? So, offering is separate from a gift, and offered over and above the tithe. Tithes and offerings are not the same. When you use a budget form in the Christian field, did you know the first thing that's on there? Offering, right at the top. That's the first thing, and it should be. God comes first. The giving line is right at the top. If anyone doesn't provide for his family, though, he has denied the faith. I know, I feel the same way. And it is worse than an unbeliever. The Bible calls us to take care of our own household. Now, I want to tell you a couple little stories about giving and tithing. Tithing is what you actually owe God, and it's important that you visualize, see it, and hear it. Because I'm telling you, it did a tremendous change in my life. I 1970 owned a little beauty shop, and oh, hi, precious. Anyway, I had 9 girls, and honest to goodness, there was no way I could take much money home. I mean, it wasn't much. So I thought, well, I better go down and get another job. So I went down to Nordstrom's and got a job in the cosmetic department. And so I'm working 2 jobs, right? But at least I'm starting to pay my bills. So I went to church every Saturday night, Sunday mornings before I went to work, and after I got off, if I got off early. So I would listen to these stories about tithing and all this important things about giving God, like I'm beating you guys about. Anyway, so I listened and I listened. So one Sunday I thought, you know what? I'm tired of working so hard. I got 2 kids, I'm trying to make ends meet, and I'm really tired of this. So that Sunday, when I went to church that evening, of course, it's time for the collection plate to come around, and I thought, well, okay, let's see what's in my checking account. $20. 2 more weeks before payday. Well, I'm going to give it. And I did. I wrote that check. And I felt good about it. I didn't even worry about it. So that was Sunday. Monday I went to work. Everything was fine. Tuesday I went to work, and one of the gals in the cosmetic department said, Jorja, there's a phone call for you. It's Chanel number 5. They want to talk to you. It was one of my cosmetics. So I said, oh, okay. So I answered. I said, hi, this is Jorja. And they said, Jorja, congratulations. You won the contest. I did? What contest? No, I was in one. Anyway, they said, yeah, we're going to send you a check for $200. Believe me, that's when I knew. I mean, I was upstairs on my knees because I knew that was a gift from God. And let me tell you, I needed that $200. I really needed it. So that was how I got started. And after I married Jerry, it took me a few years to teach Jerry about tithing. Because we were broke. We came to Fresno in 1986 with $200. What a fun thing that was. But in time, I was able to convince him. It took the same type of thing to convince him. But once he realized it, once he was fed by the Lord, he just couldn't give enough. And I'll tell you what he did. I'm going to tell you this because this is what an offering is, okay? He tithed all the time. We went to Sacramento to visit my niece, and they wanted to go to Applebee's for dinner. So we went to Applebee's, and of course, like everything, it was crowded. It was a Friday night, and there were two kids standing there in military uniforms. Well, my husband, believe me, I've had some scary experiences with him about paying for meals for military people, but it's always worked out. But anyway, he said, he asked those boys, and they were being deployed over to Iraq. And so when we sat down at the table, he said to the waiter, he said, those two boys over there that have the military uniforms on, I want their ticket. I'm paying for it. He said, oh, okay, sir, we'll see that you get it, So sure enough, they were done. He brought the ticket over, and the boys came over and they said, oh, sir, thank you so much for buying our dinner. He didn't have to do that. And he says, I wanted to. He says, I just wanted to thank you for serving our country and being so brave. And he says, well, it's really funny. He says, you guys paid for my dinner and the ladies behind you bought us dessert. I thought, wow, how great is that? So when we got done and we went up to pay the bill, guess what? You know what Applebee's did? They said, we'll pay half of their bill. So they only charged us half of their bill. See? That's offering. And that's, passing it forward, right? Then I was listening to the Christian radio station the other day, and they told a story about a policeman, and I thought this was really neat. He was in a store shopping, and a young man waited on him, and he had duct tape all around the tip of his shoe. And he thought, He says, hey, he said, what's with the duct tape? He said, is that a new thing with you kids now? You tape your toes? He goes, oh no, sir. He said, I need a new pair of shoes, but I just don't have the money right now. So this works. He said, well, what size do you wear? He told him. So he left. About 45 minutes later, here he came in with a box with brand new shoes. And the kid says, oh, gee, thanks. Now, he didn't know he was a policeman. He said, well, what do I owe you? And he said, nothing. He says, but someday pass it forward. I mean, is that just beautiful? So anyway, I just, the reason I have this money on my front shirt is because it does tell you that sometimes we really have a hard time letting go of our money. And I know, especially when it's tight. When it's, you got utilities and you got a car payment and you got all this stuff. But you know what? When you honor God first, He's faithful to you. And let me tell you, He is faithful. He knows your finances. He knows your position. He knows everything about us. But what that does, and what it really does, is you know what, God? Two things. I trust you. I love you. And it's an honor to give it to you. And you know what God says? I love you, I honor you, and I'm going to give it back. That's what God says. And believe me, it works. It really works. So here comes Carolyn. She's going to throw me off the stage. Oh, gosh. You know, I can't say enough about it because I could go on for another couple hours experiences that I had as a young woman, thinking I knew it all, think I could handle it all. But I'll tell you what, God really humbled me and really showed me. And that's why I have a desire to help you guys, to show you guys, and encourage you that God really does come first. And he always covers us. He always covers us. You know, I mean, I meet people that have a very small income, but they tithe right off the top. And you know what they always say? I never worry about it because I know God's going to cover whatever I need. And man, he does. You know, Earl had an experience with, he gave us a van. And how many horses did you get? 17 horses. Is that unbelievable? I know, but I mean, was it more income to you? Did you need it? Aha! And do you think that came from God? Oh yeah. Yes. 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 Isn't that just wonderful? God is so good. Now, there's 5 key points that I want to go over with you with this. And I hope I'm not boring, but the greatest misunderstanding is the paradox is that we believe the way to have more is to hold on to it tightly. That's the way we have more. And you know what? God doesn't want us to hoard. Not at all. He wants us to open up our hands. He doesn't want us to do this. Because you know what? I mean, I bet he thinks that's anger. You didn't give me enough. You know how I remember I used to hound my mom and dad about more allowance. And my dad said, well, you had to earn it, you know. And something that I learned from Dave Ramsey from my class is that, do you know that it's really not best to give your children allowance? What you do is you list things that you want them to do, and you give them a commission. Because what does a commission mean? It means you have to earn it. Now we're teaching our kids how to work. And that's so important to teach them that money, you know, we don't have manna coming out of the sky, you know? And when we raised our children, they understood that they wanted something special, a bike or whatever, and this really worked. We would tell them, you save half and we'll pay the other half. I'll tell you, when my kids had to pay half for their bicycle they wanted, they took really good care of those bicycles because they knew they were going to have to save it again if they didn't. So at a young age, start them out. We can teach them to get a commission. You know, like for instance, if you have 5 things that they have to do and they get $1 for each thing, if they don't do one of them, they don't get that $1. No, you didn't earn it. And it's such a great thing for them. Then you teach them. Guess what else you teach them? Give 10% of it to the Lord. Okay, can I finish this? Okay. The second thing is a steward is a manager, not an owner. You give the first 10% of your income to your church. Offerings are over and above the tithe. And today's world depends on money and the world system for their livelihood, but depending on God is the real thing. Thank you.